Good morning, everybody. Well, welcome to Tigner Adventures. My name is David, and we are starting a whole new series here. And if you can tell, I'm a lot happier than I was when this problem started. So hang around and let's show you what the problem is that we're going to be working on. Everybody, we are excited because if you watch this video, you'll know that that was a down day. That was it's like 3 weeks ago now, so I've recovered and I'm in much better spirits now. So thanks for all the encouragement that you guys gave me. You know, this is it's a tough job to live full-time in an RV and not really have places to do work and things like that when certain things happen. So I do have to say we are in Long Beach, or on Long Beach Peninsula in Long Beach, Washington. And we have some friends here that we have had forever, and they're just family to us. And we are here at their place to work on the issue we have. New transmission. Right here is my new motor. So I've now got all my parts. There was a little bit of hassle getting that. Interesting on motors. I was talking to one guy on a motor, and he says, well, you know, you can always get motors for these older cars because in other countries, they changed out the motors like every 50, 60,000 miles, they put another motor in. So they ship all these motors over to the US and then they sell them over here. So it's like, whatever. However it happens, it's nice to be able to have a motor for the car. The transmission was another story, however. There are a lot of brokers out there. When you type in, like I'm looking for a 2001 Hyundai Santa Fe transmission, you start getting calls from everybody, texts from everybody. Everybody wants to sell you one. They don't have anything. They're just a broker. But they're tied into all these different places. So this one broker guy called me and said, hey, we got this, and I was like, okay, let's go with it, Well, 3 weeks later, I still did not have the transmission. So we were up in Long Branch, Washington with our friends there, and I was supposed to stop in Chehalis and pick up this transmission at this junkyard, and they did not have it. So it wasn't there yet. They had found one in New Mexico. It was being shipped there, but 3 weeks later, as far as the guy could tell, it was in Vegas. Well, that didn't do me any good. And so anyway, I canceled that order. I started calling around locally, and I found this transmission in Longview, Washington. So good deal. Nice small little junkyard. When I was a kid, my dad owned a junkyard about the same as what these guys had, and I worked around that junkyard. Of course, I was only 10, maybe 8, so don't remember a lot, but he did give me some tools and said you could tear apart this car, and I worked on cars, my brother and I, and we played around. So we've always been involved with cars and playing around. And when my wife and I got married, we did not have a car, and we found one in the neighborhood that we were living in for $100, but it didn't run, and when we tried to start it, the engine wouldn't turn over. And what had happened is kind of like what's happened on this in a way, but the connecting rod from the piston came loose from the crankshaft that makes the pistons go up and down, and it came loose, and the piston came down, and the crankshaft came around and bent that rod so that it couldn't go up and down anymore, and so the engine would turn this way, stop, turn this way, stop, and that was it. Well, we found a junkyard there in Salt Lake City where we were at the time, and we picked up another engine, and between her and I, we worked together and we replaced the engine in that car. So we are now doing it again. It's only been 50 years. Actually, let's see, what is it? 45 years. Let's see. Yeah, we've been married now going on 45 years. So anyway, we're going to do this again, and this time we're going to replace the transmission also. So there's a few things that we got to do to get this job started. So we're going to go through a few things here, but I got to clean things out, get tables set up. Then if you look here on the front of the car, I've got my toe set up right here and everything. I do not want to be hitting that all day long with my knees, so I'm going to pull all of that off. I've got to pull the wheels off, so we're going to jack the car up and put it on stands, and we have to remove the axles off the transmission. Those are CV axles, so we've got to pop those out and get those out of there and everything so the transmission can be taken out with the engine. And then we got to start tearing everything apart inside the compartment. And you can see, this being a 2003, there's not nearly as much crap in the engine compartment as the new vehicles. And so it'll be a little bit easier job, but it is something that, you know, little pieces have to be taken out. The battery, the air cleaner, we have to take all this different things off, unplug all these wires, you know, things like that. We don't have to drain the oil. There's no oil in the engine because it's got a big hole in the bottom. But we do have to drain the oil out of the transmission, and we've got to disconnect our exhaust here. The engine does not come with a, this is an automatic steering pump. So the steering pump isn't on the new one, so we got to take this off and we're going to set it to the side because we don't want to unhook the hoses. My air conditioner is down there, so we're going to disconnect that and move it to the side because I don't want to disconnect the air conditioner. Now, we are out here on a little farm, so you're going to hear all kinds of different things probably in the background, especially the rooster that doesn't know what time of day it is. But anyway, we don't worry about that at all. And we are right next to a it's a wild wolf sanctuary or whatever, a bunch of dogs. So from time to time you'll hear them howling maybe. So, but I do have my mic on, so hopefully that'll kind of help out a lot and as we start working on this. So anyway, we're gonna start tearing all the different pieces off the car and, you know, just getting it ready to work on the car. My buddy has a buddy down the street that has this tractor. So we don't have to rent a lift. We were going to try to rent a lift, but we don't have to rent a engine lift because we have this tractor. We're going to hook a chain to that to lift the engine up out of the car. So that'll make that job pretty easy too. So this guy dropped that off this morning, so we are set. So we just need to start doing some work. The weather's going to be pretty decent for Washington for the next week. It's kind of cool in the mornings, so it is already almost 11 o'clock. So I'm a little slow, so I got to get started working earlier. But there's water on everything when I get up in the morning. The humidity yesterday was 98% at this particular time. And there is fog every morning. So anyway, we'll be dealing with all that and we're going to take you along with us. So let's get started on cleaning things up.
We got time on our side. We're in a state of hope. I need you on my fire. I want you to know that every time you're away, I long for you so much I can find my way. We got everything here, at least to stay alive, and the time.
All right, it's jacked up, but we need to disconnect this battery. We don't want the what is that, the airbag to deploy or anything as we're banging around and moving everything. So it's always good to disconnect the battery. We're going to disconnect the ground first. And we're putting everything back on here the best that we can, which makes it a little easier to remember where everything goes later. So anyway, we got to take out the battery tray to get to the transmission. I know this because I've replaced the clutch on this before. This is what we have at the moment. So we've taken out the battery, the air cleaner. The first time that I tore the engine out of the other car, the first car that we had, we got it for $100. So good deal. And of course it was 45 years ago, but my very first car was $100, and that was probably 15 years before that car. But we picked it up because the lady says, well, it doesn't start for some reason, we don't know what's going on. Well, when I replaced the engine and everything, I had a bucket of bolts left over, and my wife says, well, what's these? And I said, well, those are just spare parts. So that car ran for a long time without those bucket of bolts, but we're going to try to do a little bit better job on this engine and transmission. So we'll see what we can do as far as taping everything. Water hoses we have to pull off. We'll inspect those to see if we want to replace those. We have to take off the exhaust manifold. That's not included on the new engine. So I keep putting this tarp down here because I am out in the grass. But there's a lot of stickers in this place, and we've tried to clean them up, but they are little tiny buggers. So that's the only problem. And then I'm going to put a big tarp under here when I get the wheels off, just to, if things fall down, I can find them. Because, man, it's easy to lose different parts in the grass and everything. So not the best place to do this. You know, if you had a garage, or if I was at my brother-in-law's shop, he's got a lift. That'd all be nice, but that's in Utah. We're here in Washington. So we would like to get the car working before we get back to Utah. So we got a lot of adventures to do once we get this fixed up. We're under the car right now. This is where the bottom water hose comes, so we got to pull it off of there. So when I loosen that, it started leaking. So we do have some antifreeze still in that hose, so I'm going to capture it here. That is dripping. We do have a plug somewhere, but it seemed like the last time I needed to drain this, I had an issue with the plug, so I don't want to mess with it. I've got to take the hose off anyway, so might as well do this. Might be a little bit messier, but that's what it's like working on an engine. I'll put this up here as close as we can. And there's not a lot in there, so not too bad. So the hoses look pretty good, so pretty happy with that. So I think the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to drain the transmission oil out. I'm sure that's still got oil in it. And then we will pull out the axles, which require us to take the wheels off and everything. So if you don't reuse this antifreeze, then you do have to take it to a hazard drop-off place. AutoZone, O'Reilly, those guys, they don't collect it. So if it's not bad shape and you can reuse it, then save yourself a trip. All right, we have got all that antifreeze all put into jugs, so that's good. And we're gonna start making our garbage bag of rags with all our oil and whatever junk on them. So that's that. Now we need to drain the oil on the transaxle or transmission. So this is the transmission. So we're going to get our drain pan here. We bought this vehicle brand new, and when we first bought it, of course it had a warranty, and about 40,000 miles in, the timing belt broke, so we had to take it to the dealer to get it fixed. And there are so many little bolts and things missing, and it's always leaked oil ever since then. And I was in at the, so I started doing everything myself. I was at the dealer and I was telling him how many bolts were missing. He goes, oh, well, you should have the dealer do it, not just somebody. And it's like, that's the dealer that did that. So, so if you find a good mechanic out there, man, appreciate him for sure. Oh yeah, whoa, darn wind. And this gear oil, whew, you don't want to get that on you. All right, so we're going to let that drain out of there a little bit. And the next step will be to pop these axles out. but we're gonna have to pull the wheels first. We have this shroud here that we gotta take off. So if you can do these kind of jobs yourself, it really doesn't take a lot of tools. In fact, when I first started, I didn't have any sockets. All I had was end wrenches. And my dad told me that's how he started. And so I could learn the same way. So, thanks, Dad. It was definitely took longer. The sockets are better if you can get them, but everything costs money. These are hard plastic, so they do bend a little bit. You can see I've got a great view of the transmission there and the axle back there just by taking that cover off. I don't have all of this memorized, if you're wondering. What makes me different than you? Nothing. Anybody can do this. They do have books like this that explain each individual thing that needs to be done in order to get a certain piece replaced or something like that. And so I have had this rig for 23 years and been doing a lot of this work, you know, replacing the brakes and the axles and everything several times. And so that's why I know how to do a lot of these things. But on this, it's like, well, let's see, how much of this do I have to take off? Because I really don't want to take off any more than I have to. So if I look up the drive axles on this, drive axle is in section 8. So if I go to section 8 of this book, then I can find the section here that's talking about actually removing this. So it says section 17 within chapter 8 is drive axles removal and installation. So it then has a few different steps here for me to do. So step 1 is remove the wheel cover or hubcap, take the wheel off, you know, raise the vehicle, da-da-da-da-da. I've done all that. But then it says remove the 2 bolts from the lower strut. That's these 2 bolts here. So they are a 17 normally, anyway, 17 on both sides. So I have a 17 socket and a 17 end wrench. I'm going to take those off or disconnect the brake hose assembly from the bracket. So this is the brake hose assembly right here. Disconnect it from this strut bracket because we're going to take this off the strut and this is going to fall forward, and we want to have the play in this so that we don't put stress on this brake line. So those are the steps we have to do. We've already undone this. So if you look at this, they say use a rubber mallet and you can push on this, but if you notice here, this already moves. So I don't have to use a rubber mallet on that at all. It already moves, and so the first thing I'm going to do is take the brake off of here. So we're just going to use some pliers here. That's just a little clip like that. So it just slides over the end of this, and if you push this through, then it comes off. So now we have plenty of play here to move this around. And this just clips on there, but in this case it moves all around because there's no pressure on it anymore. It's got a spring loaded in here, so we're going to have to make sure we don't lose that. And go ahead and use our big torque wrench here, breaker torque. All right, so we're going to move this to this side. That's not good. What size was that one? Oh, I grabbed an 18. That's not good. One of the things about making these videos is there's too many things to be thinking about at the same time, you know? So try not to mess everything up. All right. Let's make sure we're undoing this. Are we undoing this? Yep. All right. Now, the cool thing about this is from Home Depot. This is their high impact wrench. And it's cordless, so it's kind of nice. And I have it on automatic right now, so it only puts enough pressure on there that it needs. And then as soon as it's done, that's why it slows way down or stops or whatever. So that one's done, and that moves around right there. We're going to do the next one. The next one, I'm going to need this little extension on here. Okay. These extensions that I have, There's a whole set. There's 4 of these different lengths, and they are from Harbor Freight. So very inexpensive, and you have a lifetime warranty with them. So if you break one, just take it back and they'll give you another one. It's got a little release pin right here that releases this little ball that's right there. And my sockets have a little spot where that ball pops in. So once that's on there, it doesn't come out. And so anyway, here we go. Now we're gonna take this off, and this has the steering piece on there. That's your tie rod end. And so we've got to bend it this way. So we're basically bending it sharp enough that we can push this out of this knuckle that it's in right now. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on this, so I'm just kind of take this off here and hold it a little bit. There we go. Okay, that axle's out. I'm gonna slide this back up in here and put the bolt back in, so it's not hanging. I'm just putting these bolts back in here because, again, I don't want to lose them. This is our lock washer and nut. So now you don't really want to be banging on this, and I really need to hang this up here a little bit, take the pressure off that. So I have this basically baling wire. So I'm going to tie this up to this strut. I'm going to wrap this around here just to kind of hold this up here. All we're doing is trying to keep the pressure off that, off the bearings on that, on the axle right there. So, okay, so that's done. Now the next step is we've got to pop that axle out of the transmission. So, but before I do that, I'm going to go around to the other side and do the same identical thing on the other side, and then we'll work on getting those out of there. All right. We've got to pop this axle out. It's got a little wire spring on the end of the axle, so it pops in, and then you got to pry it out of there, which isn't always easy to get in or out. Oh. Got our finger stuck, but it came out. So, all right, so it came out of there. So we're gonna undo our wire here. And there is the axle. And if we turn this around and look at it, those rubber boots are in really good shape. So this axle is great. See, it's got a little spring right here that expands out to hold this axle in there. But we are done with that, so we'll set that to the side. Well, this is the other side. It popped out of there pretty easy also. Oh, okay. You can see this one's a lot longer. All right, so we're gonna look at the rubber on the deal there. It looks good. So what happens is the rubber on these things, because there's bearings in here, and these go back and forth, and this is full of grease. And eventually this rubber gets hard and breaks. All the grease is thrown out of the axle. And then when you go to turn, you'll hear it going click, 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 click. Like if you're backing up out of a driveway, you can hear this click, click, click noise or something like that. I mean, worst case is it breaks, and then you can't go anywhere because one of your axles is broke off, and if both wheels aren't touching, then both wheels don't go. So they both have to be on the ground before the transmission can make them go. Otherwise it only spins the one that's broken. So that's why we wanted to double check these, but both of these axles look really good. So we have pulled the axles out. All right, so now we are looking down in here, and the axles are gone. They were right there. And now we got to remove the clutch, which is this guy right here, that little lever. and the shifting cables. And then there's one other thing on the transmission back there underneath the shifting cables. It's like a speed sensor or something like that. That's where that is on this rig, and that's where we fill up the transmission with oil. So we've got to undo that. That's a 10 millimeter nut on the top of that. These are 10s right here. And then these are just snap-on rings that snap off the cables and they slide out of the way. So a little closer look, you can see that these have little spring things on them right there, where my finger was kind of pushing right about there. You can see it. And then over here is one of those little clips just like we had on the brake cable. And then we got this is the clutch. So this piece right here goes back and forth, and that works the clutch on this one. So we got to undo this little spring thing right down there, and this piece will come off and undo those two bolts, and we can set that up out of the way, and then we won't have to worry about that either. Okay, I took this clip off. That's what that clip looks like. Okay, I don't know how good you can see that, but I've disconnected this out of the clutch hydraulic piece itself, so that's now disconnected. So if I pull this up out of here, you can see there's that unit. So we're going to just set that to the side, and then the piece that's actually on the little clutch lever that moves the throw out bearing back and forth, I'm going to leave that there for the time being. I'm going to put this piece back on there. This is just that went through the center, and this little clip. So if you look at that clip, that gives you a better idea what those clips look like. They're all the same kind of clip, but it just slides over there, and that little grab right there grabs the flat side of this. So I'm going to put that back in there so I don't lose it. So I'm going to go ahead and undo the rest of these. Get these cables off here now. So I'm just using the needle nose, pulling on that. So there it is. So pretty easy to undo, just don't want to lose them. This is just like what's on the brakes, the brake line. Oh, got it off. Whew, so that's a little harder. All right, let's look in here. I have pulled these two cables off, wired those up there so the washers are in there, and so they're off, disconnected there. But if you look at that one little wire right there is the little speed sensor. Looking at this is going to be the new transmission. So this is the speed sensor, and really all we need to do at this point is just to unhook this wire. We can take the sensor out later, but you just push on this little lever right here, this little wire thing, and that pulls off. So that just came right off. We've made a lot of progress today. Got the axles out, got everything completely, the transmission's completely disconnected all the way around, other than the actual motor mounts. We will have to start on the engine pieces, and we got quite a few things to disconnect. You know, the air conditioner, the power steering pump, the starter, and of course the exhaust manifold. We got to get that disconnected, along with whatever wiring and hoses that are still plugged in there. So it's going to take us a few days to do all of this and keep track of everything. We want to make sure that we can put all back together just as systematically as we're taking it apart. So when we're doing this and filming, it does go a lot slower, but then it's nice because I can always refer back to it. So you may want to, if you're doing this kind of a job, is at least take pictures so you remember where all this things go. So in my particular case, I know where a lot of the stuff goes, but I don't want to lose the bolts, so I've been putting all those nuts and bolts back where they were, and so we can have successful install when we're done here. So anyway, if this is working out for you, you like it and you like seeing it and everything, if you haven't subscribed yet, then please consider subscribing to our channel, but at least give us a thumbs up and make some comments. What do you think? There's not a lot to it. It's just you know, individual steps. When we built our house, it was a 5,500 square foot house. We did a lot of the work ourselves, and it was especially the wiring and things. You know, it's just we had to approach it like it's just an elephant, and you just take one bite at a time. That's all you're dealing with, and that's all we're doing here. One bite at a time, one little piece here, one little piece there, and eventually it'll be all done and we'll be able to get it out, and then eventually we'll put it all back in the same exact way. So anyway, make comments, let us know what you think, and we will just plan on seeing you down the road somewhere, and if not, then on our next video. And I don't know if that'll be with the car or something else we've got going on, because we still have a few videos on our trip, but we'll just plan on seeing you there somewhere. Okay, so take care.